As you can probably tell, I'm focusing quite a lot on airlines this week, and TUI is another one that I want to look at. I've just looked at IAG, I looked at Ryanair last week, and I also looked at Easyjet. I probably will do a video on Ryanair and Easyjet too and just compare them as well. But today I'm looking at TUI. It's quite an interesting share. I think that for what they do, they mainly do package holidays. They are in a market of their own, and they do have competition with Ryanair and with Easyjet and with British Airways, but they're at the next level and they do probably dominate that market. However, that has been a really tough market to crack recently, in terms of sales, because you can't travel anywhere without the full country being open for package holidays to work, in my opinion, and hence why TUI is, if we look at the share here, probably why it's not doing too great in comparison to some of the other airlines. It's the 12th of August. My name is Tyrone and you're watching MiniPip. Jumping straight into the video, if we look at the first half of this year and compare it to the first half of last year, we could get a good comparison and a good feeling to how good TUI is actually doing. So first half of this year, they did 732 million euros, or 716 million euros, apologies. Whereas the first half of last year, they did 6.6 billion euros. And one of the things I just reiterated in the start, when I started the video, was about how they have the revenue stream through hotels, cruises, holiday experiences and stuff like that. You can see that when I look at Ryanair, EasyJet or IAG, you don't really get that on the balance sheet or the revenue income statement, how much they're making from hotels, because they don't do that. And so as a result, this is, what I sort of mean by this is a sort of in a league of its own, because they did have Thomas Cook as a rival, because I know that you could do that with Thomas Cook, but now Thomas Cook has gone bust. TUI generally would have got most of the market share of that industry, but because of the pandemic, I don't think you can go to a country and have an experience or a cruise or stay in a hotel and have fun if you're in a lockdown, or if you're stuck to that, confined to that one room. It's boring. So hence why TUI's not recovered. Whereas if you look at Ryanair, they're starting to recover, EasyJet too. IAG not so much just yet, but they will do, I think, when international travel returns. Looking at the actual loss that they took as well, it's not looking like any improvements at all. You've got a 1.3 billion euro loss, whereas the first half of last year they saw 746 million euro loss. That's fine when you're doing 6.6 billion. That's a 12-13% of your turnover is a loss, but right now they're doing a bigger loss than what they're turning over. In fact, it's almost 50% bigger, and that is really, really bad to see. At the height of the pandemic, most of the airlines was doing that, but now that we're coming out of that and we're still seeing these losses in the first half of this year, that's quite worrisome, because last year you had Tenerife and a few other of the Canary Islands and some other places that you could travel to, and so as a result you'd think that TUI would pick up some sort of business there, and they haven't, in comparison to Ryanair or EasyJet, for instance. Looking at the balance sheet as well, it's not looking any better. The non-current assets, which is anything over 12 months, has gone down by around 400 million euros, and total assets are down around sort of that 650 odd million euro region, so they're sitting at around 14.8 billion euros. One of the problems is cash and cash equivalents is 1.4 billion, and given that they took a loss of 1.3 billion, it's only leaving them net positive in my eyes of about 100 million essentially cash on hand. I know that's not necessarily how it works, but that's how I personally see it. Their cash pile is only just, at this current moment in time, is only just covering their loss, and that is an issue. If you look at IAG and you look at Ryanair and the other airlines, they're not in that situation. They have, potentially 3 or 4, 5 years worth of cash available to sort of subject to the losses, really, to sort of swallow up the loss, shall we say. Looking at the debts as well, they've increased. So you've got 9.3 billion in non-current, and then you've also got 5.3 billion euros in current, which is essentially what's got to come over in the next, or what's got to expire as such in the next 12 12 months. You know, adding those up, you've got liabilities around 12.4 billion pounds, which is about 14.6 billion euros. So they're only, you know, on a net positive margin of around 150 million pounds, which is about 180 million euros, about 180, 190 million euros, which is really bad. And, you know, if they don't pick it up in this next quarter, this next half, they're going to go negative assets. And negative assets to me is something that I don't like to see. It worries me, to be fair. Now, looking at the chart, there is some positives to take away from the chart, which is good. And the main positive is that it's range bound. And because it's range bound, potentially there is an investment to be made with an actual good return, but you've got to sort of look away from the numbers. So you're just basically investing on a technical basis only if using in TUI, and that's because you've got this range here, which sits at the low, which is essentially that major break support. You know, you break below sort of that 230 level, you're in trouble. And in fact, there's even a potential that they could go bust if we break that level there. I wouldn't want to see that, because that would be really bad for the industry. But, you know, this level here is your support. And given that we're quite close to that, you know, there's potentially downside move. You know, if it does fall, there's potentially a downside move of maybe sort of 20-30% this year, and there's a very good possibility that we could go there. But to the upside, you know, if we look at the upside, there's potentially a 50-60% increase, and at the highs maybe 80% if we can recover. So if demand is good and package holidays are picking up, I've been looking at them for next year, hoping that, you know, things pick up again. If that does pick up and next year is a good year, we could definitely see these shares coming on towards the back of the year, raised towards that £5 to £6 level, €5 to €6 level, which again represents a nice 80-90% increase in its share price. But generally speaking, similar to IAG, when I looked at that, this is going to stay range bound. I don't expect it to go above 6, sort of that 5-6 level anytime soon. 6 is your ceiling here. You know, buying in at sort of 3 between now and sort of that 230 level, so that £1 difference as such here, that could provide a good buying opportunity. But apart from that, it doesn't really look good. You've got MACD negative, and you've got the RSI reading 40, so we could continue to fall, and we're not oversold. And the MACD is suggesting that we probably may potentially go lower. Like I've said in most of the videos and most of the posts on the website, August is a slow, quiet month, and volume is low. Therefore, don't expect any big moves in the next couple of weeks for this share. If anything's going to happen, it's going to be November, December, likely, when this starts to move again. So you'd essentially be potentially build up a position now, hoping that you get up to that sort of 500 level, £5 level up here. That would be where you'd be targeting. Your stop loss would definitely want to be somewhere in the region of 230, and if you fall below there, there's a very good possibility that this could end up like Thomas Cook. You could end up being bailed out, or, you know, something like that, by a bigger airline, or the governments, in fact. But overall, this is probably going to stay range bound. It's the 12th of August. My name's Tyrone, and thanks for watching MiniPip. If you like the videos, please subscribe and like them too. It helps. And again, everything on the website, so including TUI, it's all on there. And I'll be updating the website regularly about companies that I'm looking at on YouTube as well. So I'll be keeping up to date with them. Thanks for watching.